Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy Jonathan Macri with you for another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. I'm laughing because life is just so great as a Knicks fan right now. Jeremy Cohen, I see you are laughing as well.
I am.
How you doing, bud?
I'm great. You know why, John?
Why?
I'm not stuck in a closet in Florida. So things are going well. I'm in the comfort of my own home now. Holidays are coming up. It'll be great. So it's nice to not be there and glad to be back.
Did you take pictures of the closet to reminisce about in case you find yourself fondly wishing for what was?
Fondly wishing for what was in Orlando?
Yes.
No, I did not. It was, first of all, they gave me, it was like it wasn't even a closet. It was a wall. They gave me a 3-bedroom hotel room, but all of the beds were essentially children's size. And I was there for 3 nights. So I was thinking, do I do like a Goldilocks and the 3 Bears type of thing where I'm in each bed every night? But I didn't want to do that to the cleaning people. I thought that would be too much. So I stayed in one. But yeah, I'm in my own bed now. It's great.
Man, that's great. Hey, shout out to Orlando, one of our great American cities. Whooped up on Indiana today. We should shout out to them. Good basketball team right now.
Indeed.
That'll be enough magic talk for right now. Because the Knicks. You know what's fun, Jeremy, is talking about the Knicks when they're playing well. And like, I'm trying to remember a time since we've been doing this podcast. I mean, obviously there are some years that we don't even need to think about because they were god awful. But even last year, and certainly the We Here season, or if you want to throw in like early in 21-22, where there was just a very definite sense of comfort in the fact that they are good. And like, look, they have 3 games coming up against the Timberwolves, Miami, and you know, the Suns, and like they could lose any of those games, but like I don't know. I can't remember the last time I felt quite this way as a Knicks fan. Like we've had moments of euphoria, like win streaks and like this and that, but just this like very stable, like the ground isn't shaking. It's just like in and of itself, I guess that's kind of unnerving, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's a team that doesn't have a star. So why are we caring? It's a great team. This is a really solid, stable, consistent team that's fun to watch. And they've got contributors every single night when it's the next man up. And the thing is, it's not even new because this is the same team as last year with really one addition and internal growth from key contributors. So
is that why we're seeing this, though? Because what you just said, because it's the same exact team. And it's like, what team has a better chance of knowing itself and executing on like kind of what they know how to do than a team that has been together for so long?
This is a team filled with players that know their roles and that will help out when one man goes down. And I think that's all you can ask for. It's a deep team and they have the ability to get better both internally and making moves as the season goes on. So it's exciting. There are things to work on, but we're looking at a franchise right now that it's just stability. But it's more than stability because it's actually success. Stability would just be, we're past that point. The ship has been righted. It was righted a while ago.
Yeah.
And right now, as we keep going, it's a long season, of course, but assuming this team continues on the path that it's going, we're talking about a franchise that would have been, they would have had 3 out of 4 successful seasons. And again, I'm trying to put the cart before the horse here, but it shouldn't be a surprise that this team can beat Atlanta on the road and then beat Washington. They pulled away when they needed to, but still they beat up on a bad team. And then the next night took care of business pretty much the whole way against Charlotte. I mean, really good teams beat up on bad teams. That's what the Knicks have done. The moments where it's felt fraught have been against contenders or, as we talked about, on the second night of a back-to-back against teams that aren't the Charlotte Hornets, for example. So to me, it's expected. Like they should be taking care of business, and not in a way that's like, I can't believe they didn't do it if they aren't able to, but just it speaks to the level of confidence I have in this basketball team to be able to keep pushing forward.
Yeah, I think we're definitely feeling good right now, in part because of the games that you just mentioned and who they were against. I mean, I've been like trumpeting the song of parity since the offseason, and I think that's true to an extent. However, we are seeing a bottom, I don't know, bottom eight, bottom 6, 7, 8 ish, right? Emerge. Like the Bulls. I don't know what the hell is going on with the Bulls. They had quite a game against the Miami Heat last night. So
their fans said they're better than the Knicks. And who are we to disagree with them, right?
I'm good. I mean, I'm glad they could put that under their pillow at night. Let me know if the fan fairy comes and rewards them. I don't know where I'm going with that. Anyway, there's like a bottom part of the league, and I think there is like a top part of the league, but the top part of the league is confusing because like I have Denver, Cleveland on right now, and like Donovan Mitchell's not playing for the Cavs, and the Nuggets, who are granted without Jamal Murray, are getting smoked and just don't look great. Like aside from the Celtics, who I still do kind of feel are in a maybe not a tier of their own, but they just have so much firepower. Like the rest of the top 20, 21, 22, 23, whatever you want to call it, is like sort of fluid. In that like you have teams that can, I don't want to say like everybody in that group is capable of beating any other one in that group, like on any given night, to some extent. So I do still think the Knicks season is going to be defined by like how they do against those other, again, like 20-ish teams. So far, they've done fine against them. And maybe the formula for them this year is similar to the formula like kind of last year and kind of 3 years ago, which is like we take care of business against the teams we're supposed to take care of business against. We win, more games than we don't against everybody else, and then we show up and it's like whatever it is, high 40s win team.
I would agree. Like, you encapsulate it perfectly. Like that is what their role is, and I'm sure there are going to be a lot of fans who are saying, "Well, I care about the playoffs," but it's also the journey part of it too, where you keep building your case and finding things that can then build off for the playoffs, like Donte DiVincenzo scoring 25 points. That's great. It also goes to show that that's someone you can rely on moving forward as a key piece to your team. And hey, maybe actually giving a mid-level exceptions here wasn't such a bad idea to those who poo-pooed that idea as recently as a couple weeks ago. Because I'll tell you, adding talent for just cap space, it wasn't even cap space, for an exception.
Money. I mean, just using money.
Sure, just money, right? Like if you want to make it all about, oh, well, the Knicks got DiVincenzo and 2 meh to bad second round picks for Obi Toppin. Like we could do that if we want to. But I can also tell you,
please God, no.
The good news is that DiVincenzo is adding productive basketball to the Knicks right now, and that should continue to be the case because that's the type of player that they signed for a reason. It wasn't just because of a Villanova connection where let's make Jalen Brunson happy and all that. He's not Ryan Arcidiacono paid times 10 or times 8, whatever the math shakes out to. It's a completely different story because it's a rotational player who's good at basketball, who happened to be a free agent, an unrestricted one, and the Knicks were able to sign him.
The good at basketball part is kind of important there, and I feel like that was glossed over in some of the discourse. Let's talk about DiVincenzo now. I want to get back to the idea of like, are they, like, if there is an elite class in the NBA, are the Knicks part of it? Because we're going to play a little game of true or false. This is courtesy of our esteemed producer, GMAC, who is not here right now. APJP's on the 1s and 2s, but Andrew Claudio being the, there are no rainy days. That's the sort of producer he is. No rainy days for Andrew Claudio. He still gave us a little gimmick to do tonight. So let's get into it. 3 true or falses, which we'll kind of figure out our way through. The first one, I'll ask you, true or false, and then I'll let me see what your answer is. The Knicks should make a starting lineup change with Donte DiVincenzo and Quentin Grimes. Before I get your answer, Jeremy, I'm going to refer to the lovely Google document here, which refers me to the Knicks' existing starting lineup, which has played 240 possessions this season. No, am I reading this right? Yeah, they've played 240 possessions this season. They are a plus 17.9 in that time. They have a 65th percentile offense and an 88th percentile defense. My goodness gracious, that is a lofty number. And I probably just as notably, their most used backup unit. Oh wait, no, I'm misreading this.
No,
I've flubbed this. See, this is why we need GMAC here to be like, no, you idiot. I think what I'm actually looking at here is the all of the lineups with Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle, and Jalen Brunson. Is that more accurate?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Those lineups, 511 possessions, are plus 11.6. So not quite as good as plus 17.9. The one with Grimes in it, the actual starting lineup that we're used to, that's plus 17.9. But what I was looking for is the backup unit, and that's like not on here. So I
have the backup unit.
So what is the backup unit? That's what I was looking for.
So I like to answer the question, and I will go with false. The Knicks should not make a starting lineup change with Donte DiVincenzo by swapping out Quentin Grimes. And here's why. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But also, on a larger note, it's a really good lineup. I know that Grimes' pure stats do not reflect that. I know that defense can be hard to quantify. But when you're looking at a team where their most used lineup, the starting lineup that we are very familiar with, that was there last season, has continuity, has played 240 minutes this season so far, 84th percentile, as you said, on the offensive side, 65th percentile, and the defensive 88th percentile. If you
I was going crazy. I want to note that. I was just looking for something that wasn't there, and it threw me off.
You're totally good. The lineup that you're talking about, though, John, the backup one with Quickly, DiVincenzo, Hart, and in this case, it's actually Barrett and Hartenstein. That one is the 73rd percentile overall. That's plus 7.2. It's
which is very good.
7 less in about half the time. It's like 123 minutes. 69th percentile offense, 51st percentile defense. The way that I see it is you have 2 units with your 9-man rotation when everyone's healthy that are working. So why necessarily go through the process of trying to figure out what works when you know what works? It's not to say that there couldn't be other things to explore, right? There are always avenues to explore, and injuries can sometimes also make that happen where you can learn a lot from it as well. But there's the aspect of Grimes and his matchup difficulty, where Grimes consistently takes on the toughest offensive players, specifically in this case, the lead ball handler, the point guard. That's not really what DiVincenzo does. That's not quite his role.
It's not his role at all.
He's more off ball. He's more of a helper. He can be more of a chaser, but he's not going to be matching up 1v1 with some of the best dribble drive players in the game. And having him, especially work against backups, makes him look a lot better. Grimes is a better defender. Utilizing Grimes in a different role when he would be best served play. I mean, here's a perfect example. We saw in the Atlanta Hawks game, every time Trae Young came in, Quentin Grimes was there. Tibbs made it so that Grimes would match up with Trae Young. And when Grimes left the game with the sprained wrist, Trae Young played really well. And I feel like that is a test case for how Grimes operates on the defensive level, and just moving him for DiVincenzo because DiVincenzo has hit more threes and scored more points and done this and that. It misses the larger point here where Grimes does a lot of the dirty work. He's not like Mitchell Robinson, but he's the guy who does the unheralded stuff on the perimeter where we can say afterwards, look at how few points this player was held to, or how few assists this player got as a result of being guarded by Grimes. So I am against changing it because we have multiple seasons worth of proof of what his impact can be when he's a starting shooting guard.
I will also go false for this, and I'm going to try not to repeat anything you said because you covered a lot of it. I would also just note you brought up Trae Young. I'll bring up LaMelo Ball, who was having, it didn't end up mattering because it was the Hornets and like they have some issues and like they don't defend. But like LaMelo Ball was getting whatever he wanted in that game, and there's like dominoes that fall from Quentin Grimes not being in the starting lineup, which is like, okay, well then we can't put our next best defender on like their next best offensive player and like the whole thing. And, we saw Brandon Miller go off, and it's just, I'm happy you said like Mitch. Yeah, he does the dirty work. Also, Mitch does get glorified because Mitch does get some numbers out of it. He gets the offensive rebounds, and he's on pace for having one of the greatest offensive rebounding seasons of all time. Like, he's the guy that's going to get the lion's share of the credit if they wind up a top 5 defense at the end of the year, because he's the man in the middle and everybody knows how important he is. You want to talk about a guy that gets absolutely no glory, and only there's an analogy here that is an obvious one that I'm missing. What's someone that like only gets noticed if they do a bad job? There's like some well-known thing that, of course, it's on the tip of my tongue, and I think
ne'er-do-well.
Yeah, whatever. That's Grimes. If Grimes isn't hitting his open threes, he's going to get noticed. If he's hitting his open threes, it's like, well, you're supposed to hit your open threes. That's your only job here, right? Or if an offensive player does get going against him, it stands out, right? The reason I guess I don't want this to come off as like anyone who thinks Donte DiVincenzo should be starting for the Knicks is insane is because I do think that they're a better offensive team with him in there. And as far as the defensive end goes, and again, this is like, I don't know how much of this you could judge against Charlotte, but it's his ability to generate turnovers, DiVincenzo, and they're, which is something that Grimes is a great defender. He doesn't quite do that. DiVincenzo's a riverboat gambler, which can be a blessing and a curse. Against Charlotte, he got 2 steals in the first 5 minutes of the game. It was a blessing. It helped set the tone. That won't always be the case. And then just the last thing I'll say, I would always perhaps caution against making judgments after a guy has had a night in which he had career high in points, career high and made field goals, tied his career high and made field goals, and set a career high and made threes. Let's hit the brakes a little bit. That's all. That's all I'm asking. It's not a crazy thing. Again, it's not crazy, but for all the reasons you said, and you summed them up very well, I think we should keep things as well.
It's also the corner 3 aspect. When you look at a starting 5 as well, right? A lot of ideally, it's like, imagine having 5 players who could create, who are double-digit scorers, who are going to win with high offense. And very rarely is a team comprised of that, because there are players that need to sacrifice. You cannot have a bunch of high-usage players coming together. It doesn't work quite in the way that we might hope. So having it, and I mean, John, you've certainly studied Tibbs teams in the past. Yeah. There are plenty of mostly 2 guards who have been on the team that are just off-ball players who do the dirty work, and they're comfortable with it. And as long as Grimes has the quick trigger and is hitting corner 3s and defending really well, we don't need a ton of creation. It'd be nice, but it's also, we're talking about a player who is in his 3rd year. There's time for him to grow. He could also stand to benefit by improving, by playing the best competition in the starting lineup, because that's typically where he faces off against those guys. So I agree with you. It's not absolutely outlandish to think, how could you put Donte DiVincenzo with Grimes? But it's just a matter of like ignoring what you have already in the starting lineup, being really productive and keeping this team to gel. And they're only going to keep building off of that.
And that's the last thing. I'm happy you brought it up, is like, what's best for Grimes should also be part of this conversation. I think there's arguments on both sides. But I tend to agree with you. I think he'll benefit more from being on the floor more with the team's most talented players. The offense gets a little extra juice when DiVincenzo's in there. There will be a time and a place for that. I'm not sure, or maybe there'll be a time and a place for that. I'm not sure it's right now. Okay. Let's move on to second true or false. True or false? Jalen Brunson's 3-point shooting is sustainable. I'm laughing because I'm about to say what it is, and changes the ceiling of this team if he's able to play off ball this effectively. So Brunson currently shooting 47.7% on almost 7 3-point attempts per 36 minutes. He leads the NBA in 3-point percentage going into this recording among those players who have shot at least 83s. And I'll add just a couple of things. One, he actually went through a 3-point shooting slump. There was a 5 or 6 game stretch that started with think the Pelicans game. It was the Pelicans was the third game of the season where he hit 25% from deep, and then the last 6 games, I think he's been at 55%. I mean, it's insane, which is why I laughed when Andrew wrote, "Is this sustainable?" I mean, no, at this level, it's not sustainable. And then the other thing I want to add, though, yes, he's hitting all catch and shoots. A lot of these are pull-ups. I haven't checked the stats today, but going into the Hornet game, exactly half of his attempts and exactly half of his makes were on pull-up threes. So either way, I'll throw it to you. Let's keep it going back and forth. I'll throw it to you first, and then I'll answer.
I mean, do I think that 47.7% is sustainable from deep? I do not. With that said, the ability to keep generating open looks for him off the catch and shoot is huge. And especially if he's able to keep making these shots, because the pull-up three has just become harder. I mean, he was very good at that last year, but if memory serves, of the 248 players last season who took at least 100 3-point attempts off of the catch and shoot, Brunson was second out of, that's a lot of players, and he was second in terms of that. Now, granted, the frequency, the attempts is going to be different, but there's clearly a reason why there was talk going into this season of, well, the Knicks feel Jalen Brunson is poised to take that next step. And it was that giving him more opportunities to do exactly what he's good at is how you continue having dividends and getting more players who can space the floor and more threats. Why adding DiVincenzo was important. Why it's so great that RJ Barrett is shooting better from three. Why Julius Randle coming back from the injury after a slow start is imperative. It opens everything for him, and he opens things for them as well. He's going to be a scorer first, but at least if he's going to be a scorer first, he's hitting those shots that aren't just scoring. He's shooting the lights out as well. So I'm tempted to say false, but it's almost like a 2-part question. Like sustainability is it's false, but in terms of changing the trajectory of the Knicks and their ceiling, I'm going to have to go with true.
He doesn't need to continue shooting at this level. I mean, it could go down a few ticks and it's fine. The important part, and I'll refer back to his first 2 threes that he made against the Hornets on Saturday night. The first 3, and this is not, I mean, he's taken and made a lot like where this sort of thing has happened. Ish Smith went under a screen. I'm actually not sure if it was his first, but it was 2 consecutive 3-point makes in the first half. Ish Smith went under a screen, and without hesitation, Brunson fired away and made it. That was a deep one. It was actually, no, I don't think it was his first one. So yeah. The next 3-point shot he made, Ish Smith was like, oh shit, I guess I can't go under. He went over, and Mark Williams, who's had a wonderful season for Charlotte, he's already good. He's going to be really good. He was in drop. We all know the ills of drop coverage here in New York. We don't have to talk about that again. But in this instance, Jalen Brunson, again, Ish went over, Mark Williams in drop. Again, Jalen Brunson's like, you're going to play drop on me? Fine. I'll fire away. Made it again. Mm-hmm. This equates to a player that you now need to, I'm not going to throw Steph's name around, but like there are a handful of guards in the league that you will tilt a defense to them when they are 25 feet from the basket. That is the trajectory that Jalen Brunson is heading. And it's early. This is like he really started to not dip his toe in the water, but like wade into the pool last year. Now he's like fully in the pool and he's getting really close to the deep end. And it is sustaining because like if defenses have to guard him, and then the other part that goes hand in hand for me with the 3-point shooting is I think the passing has gotten better. So if you're going to get a guy that commands this level of attention above the arc and is making some of the passes, these like whip passes to the weak side corner and stuff, and then you throw in the like again, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I think he's defending pretty well. He's not ever going to be an average defender, but he's defending well enough. All of that spells to me a player who is not only getting better in and of himself, but that's a guy that you could put alongside anybody and it's going to work because he's going to obviously be able to play on the ball. He's going to be able to play off the ball, draw attention away, the whole thing. I don't know if I want to go. I'm saying true because it does change their ceiling. I'm just like, man, we've had RJ Barrett taking a leap. Mitchell Robinson has kind of entered a new stratosphere. I would go so far as to say that this growth from Brunson in all of these areas is maybe a bigger deal than both of those things. Am I going too far? Because I might be.
The growth from the offensive perspective of the 3-point shooting?
Just everything with Brunson just getting better, 3-point shooting, and then give him a little bit of credit, better passing, better defense.
Mm-hmm. So from the defensive perspective, last season, Cleaning the Glass had him for the team efficiency on-off. He was in the 5th percentile on defense. All the other advanced metrics would corroborate this.
Yes.
The year before that, in Dallas, he was in the 27th percentile. This year, he's in the 43rd percentile.
It's better.
Not only is that better, that's almost 9 times better in terms of percentiles than he was last season. So not having someone that you view as a black hole on the defensive end being, mediocre, it does a lot for you. It changes so much of your team's dynamic that you can actually move forward with it. And then, as you're saying, the offensive side improving, it just feels like it doesn't feel like a step. It feels like a leap.
Mini leap. Yeah. It's exciting. And look, we'll get to the playoffs and he's always going to be hunted in the playoffs, but those are good problems to have once you get there. Okay. Last one. True or false? So we got a couple trues and a couple falses here. The Knicks should be considered one of the 5 best teams in the NBA. So this is kind of what I was hinting at earlier in terms of this giant morass of teams in the NBA and can they be grouped and how should they be grouped? So here are some stats. Again, all these courtesy of Andrew Claudio via NBA.com or maybe NBA.com via Andrew Claudio. Okay, they are 10th in offensive rating, 5th in defensive rating, 4th in net rating, 1st in offensive and defensive rebound percentage. I'm not sure when's the last time a team, I don't know if a team has ever finished 1st in both of those categories. 7th in 3-point percentage, 10th in 3-point attempts per game, and then 6th in turnover percentage. The one stat that he doesn't have here, which I'm actually going to look up right now just because I'm curious, is where they are in free throw rate, because that was the other part of their magic formula.
I got that. Don't worry.
Cleaning the Glass. Oh, you do. So they're a little lower than last year. They're 23rd via Cleaning the Glass. I think they're a little bit higher in the NBA's page, but I'm not as worried about the free throw rate because they've just been firing away from 3 so much and they've been making so many of them. So that's kind of a natural give and take. Jeremy, I'll turn to you again. Are the Knicks a top 5 team in the NBA?
I'm going to go with no, but it's close. It's very close. Free throw rate as well. I think, this isn't exactly 1-to-1, but having RJ obviously miss some games, that should hopefully drive up the ability for the Knicks in drives per game and hence the free throws. I don't think they're a top 5 team because to me, are we saying they're a top 5 regular season team? Because we've seen teams like the Utah Jazz, where they were a top 5 regular season team, but I wouldn't have them in the playoffs as a top 5 team. And sure enough, they flamed out before they were able to reach even really top 5 stage because they lost the second round. Playoffs are a different animal, but yes, go ahead.
2 different conversations because there's top 5 team in the NBA right now versus top 5 championship equity. I don't know what the fuck are the Suns' record. The Suns are a 500 team. They have not played well. They look not great, and Bradley Beal has played as many minutes for the Phoenix Suns. Actually, no, sorry. I was going to say as me or you. Did he got into a game, didn't he? Or did he? He
did. The problem is that the big 3 that they have
played
yet
as many
to play.
Yeah.
Yes.
As many minutes.
You, me, and Justin have combined for as many minutes as the Phoenix Suns' big 3. Correct.
There you go. So I hope people aren't going to get upset about what I'm about to say, but the Suns have more championship equity than the Knicks. I'm sorry. That's just a fact. They're not a better team right now. That's also a fact. So top 5 championship equity, I'm going to go with no. Are they a top 5 team right now? Let's say that.
Through this season, sure. At this point, yes, I would say they are. So just to kind of run through some numbers, the Knicks have the 6th best net rating that Cleaning the Glass has. It's really different. They're the 10th best offense and the 7th best defense. Again, Andrew had these numbers as well. But one of the things that was not mentioned that I want to bring attention to is the efficiency, right? I mean, a lot of the times it all comes down to, well, how efficient is this team? That the effective field goal percentage is a major factor. This
They're
season,
not last.
They're not. This season,
They were
the Knicks
last for a while.
well, so that's the thing. They're 26th in the NBA right now. But if we break it down, if you look at the first 6 games when they went 2-4, they had the 28th ranked offense and they were 30th in terms of effective field goal percentage.
Yep.
Then once they started against the Clippers and everything moving forward, as of this moment, Sunday, November 19th in the evening, with most of the games that have been played today not reflected, but even still, the Knicks they have the second best point differential, or second best differential according to Cleaning the Glass.
Yep.
They have the number 1 offense, and they have
last
the
7 games
8th best effective field goal percentage. And a huge reason comes down to Julius Randle, where those first 6 games, his effective field goal percentage was 31.8. The games that followed, the 7 after, 50.7. So that is a swing of almost 19 points. And when you look at what his career is, I mean, career-wise from like last season for context, his effective field goal percentage was 53.6. So he's working his way back he's still below where that was, which was also around slightly below average, but he's working his way back. And the point I'm getting at here is, if this is a team where we can look holistically and say, yeah, they're really good, but shooting percentage or effective field goal percentage, it's not great. If we root out the very early stuff, and I don't want to manipulate the data, it's important, but it was also at a time that was its most vulnerable, where you're figuring things out, players are getting back, Randall's coming back from injury, all of that. Looking at this team, yes, as of this season, record-wise won't show it, but they have been playing like a top 5 team. So grand scheme of things, no. This season through 13 games, 8-5. Yes, true.
I'm going to pour in a few ounces of cold water on that, only for this reason. You said they're 8th in effective field goal percentage over the last 7 games. Over those last 7 games, they are the number 1 3-point shooting team in the NBA. They are absolutely. They are. I have some notes on this in Monday's newsletter, but in short, they are on a stretch right now that kind of rivals any stretch that we've ever seen from this franchise in terms of proficiency from deep. 43% on like high volume. Again, best in the league over the last 7 games. To be the best 3-point shooting team in the league over that amount of time on decent volume, and to be doing all the offensive rebounding that they do, and to be a low turnover team, and to still kind of only be 8th, it shows that there are still areas of this offense that have, leave a little bit to be desired. Like they're still like not hitting any shots at the rim, which is kind of comical at this point. But that said, is there a world where this team could be like top 15 in effective field goal percentage for the rest of the year? Sure. If they're top 15 in effective field goal percentage for the rest of the year, then they are absolutely going to be a top 10 offense for the entire season. That's without question, because the other stuff that they do is very sustainable. And then if you throw in the defense, and you assume the defense is going to maintain at a top 5 level, well, then you're right there in the top 5. Can I cheat?
Sure.
I'm going to cheat. I think the Celtics are in a class of their own still. And I'm going to say that the Knicks are part of the next group, which I have as 5 teams. I have Minnesota, in no particular order, Minnesota, Denver, Philadelphia, the Knicks, and maybe this is recency bias because I just watched them win an outstanding game of the year so far against the Golden State Warriors, the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think the Thunder need to be mentioned in this conversation. They are incredible right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're going to be in that next group of 5 for me, with all due respect to the Milwaukee's and the Dallases and the, Miamis of the world. Like there's a lot of really good teams right now. Okay. That was fun. That was good. Good job by you, Andrew.
Yes, indeed. I also don't subscribe to the idea based on what you're saying. The Knicks will not finish eighth or are unlikely to finish with the 8th best effective field goal percentage. Even if they hover around league average, I'm happy with it.
That's fine. League average effective field goal percentage for them is absolutely, sign me up.
Throw a parade.
Please, I'll be the grandmaster of that parade. All right, let's give out some game balls. Given to a player, coach, or entity that stood out this week. Every time I read it, I want to go back and watch Dead Reckoning. What's wrong with me? That stood out this week and deserves special recognition. All stats are since the last show. Okay, here we go. Jalen Brunson is averaging almost 30 points, 29.3 on 47, 58. 100 splits. He hasn't missed a free throw, I guess, this week. Shooting 9 3-point attempts a game again in the last 3 games. Mitch, 20 offensive rebounds in the last 3 games. Leads the NBA with 78. The next closest is Kevon Looney with 52. I'll go back to that one in a second. Julius Randle, 24, 7, and 8 on 50% shooting and 40% from 3. We won't talk about his free throw conversion rate, which is not that great. Donte DiVincenzo, 11 for 20 from 3 this week. I didn't even realize it was that high. And then Emmanuel quickly, clutch free throws versus Atlanta, 4th quarter takeover back home versus DC. And I will also just note, again, it seems silly to say now, the Charlotte game got a little tight. I'm looking back at my notes in the 4th quarter, and Emmanuel quickly hit an important 2 to extend the lead from 6 to 8. It got to the lowest point it was, 6 points, and he hit a nice bucket there. Okay, I go first. I'm gonna leave you the juicy one, and I'm gonna take Mitch only because, and you could consider this a shameless plug for the Knicks Film School newsletter if you'd like. I have no shame. So here are the players in NBA history that have had more offensive rebounds over their first 13 games of a season, more than Mitchell Robinson's 78. Jason Williams, whose career and life kind of went sideways, did so with the New Jersey Nets. Like, he was an outstanding player, made an all-star team. He had 2 seasons where he had, this is insane, 97 and 92 offensive rebounds. That's not a real number. But here's the thing. He did so playing almost 500 minutes in both of those seasons. Dennis Rodman had 85 offensive rebounds through 13 games, playing 523 minutes in the 93-94 season. Moses Malone, 84 offensive rebounds, playing nearly 500 minutes, 498 for the World. No, actually, this was the year after the World Championship. 83-84 Philadelphia 76ers. And Mitch, here's the thing, 78, so he's quite a bit behind the number 1 all-time, Jason Williams, only played 386 minutes this year, Mitchell Robinson. So if you go on a permanent basis, he's actually, he's right there for the greatest offensive rebounding start to a season in NBA history. And, he hasn't gotten a lot of recognition over the years. He's getting some recognition this year. So he will get my game ball for this week.
I'm glad that he's getting recognition. And a lot of it really stems to the emphasis that's on points and rebounds when it comes to centers, where you could have really good defense, but again, it's hard to quantify defense. So it's looked at as, well, how many boards are you getting? How many putbacks? How many, what can you do on the offensive end? And now that Mitch is able to gravitate more towards gobbling up these boards, he's able to put more of a name for himself, which is well-deserved. It's just, it's unfortunate that that's where we identify value, is having to look at the offensive production for someone who's so good on the defense. Not you. You're totally fine. It's collectively the general NBA scope of media and fans that just more casual, not gonna, or even those who do follow it religiously. There's more of a profound impact on those players who are able to do more on the offensive end.
And I look, I'm not going to sit here, and we're not going to sit here and pretend like the fact that Mitchell Robinson has offensive limitations don't like that doesn't matter, and like that won't it reared its head in the Miami series. I'm sure it'll come up again, if this team gets back to the playoffs and plays that sort of a high level playoff series. But his low usage does need to be taken with a grain of salt, because just his presence as an offensive rebounding threat in and of itself is like, that is a threat, right? So he's not seeing the ball, but the fact that he's there, he's always there. And it's just like, that kind of matters. So okay, that's my game ball. To you, sir.
Jalen Brunson, for the reasons that we talked about and more. Just what a week, especially after a season that started a little funky. He didn't just seem quite right. Now he's kind of gotten into the groove of things. I don't have as much concern over Jalen Brunson. I wasn't super worried to begin with, but a week like this certainly reinforced, that guy's pretty good and he's getting better. And that's great because he's 27 years old. So just the stat line is still insane to me. 29.3 points per game on 48, 58, 100 if we're rounding up. Like, that's just crazy. So pretty awesome.
Real quick on Brunson, I noted this when it happened. The Knicks had finally put the Hornets away on Saturday night, and they were up 116 to 102. And shout out to Benji Ridholtz, who has been tracking when Brunson's people, you have been Brunson, when he basically tricks them and they get called for an offensive foul because they think he's going one way around the screen and he goes the other way. And he pulled off one of those with, again, Knicks had a 14-point lead with a minute 20 to go. And like, those hurt. Like, everyone, like, he feels it. And like, we've seen Brunson talk about a guy who's just sacrificing his body, he's leading the league in charges taken. And like, that's the sort of dude he is. And it's like, I it sounds silly and hokey, but that kind of stuff matters to me, at least, almost as much as like everything else he does, on the court. So, good pick. Next section is going to be a little light. Detention given to a player, coach, or entity that deserves to sit down for a while and think about what they did wrong. Nada. They are undefeated since the last show. Detention is closed. Although, there was a football game on, I think it was just finishing up as we went to air, being played by a football team that I think they are a New York football team. And actually, they were playing another New York football team, but it's from a different part of New York. And I noticed the score, and it did not seem like the one that plays closer to the city of New York was doing particularly well. So, but it's not my pick, so I'm just going to throw it to you. I don't have anybody. Do you have someone for Detention?
Not really. I mean, I'm not going to throw the Giants into Detention for winning a game because I'm not going to.
That'd be funny if you did that. You should throw the Giants. I'll throw the Jets in.
But I don't want to throw the Giants in. They did their job. Tommy DeVito, 3 touchdowns. Daniel Jones, I don't believe, has had 3 touchdowns in like 3 seasons. So I'm not saying that TD is the future in New York, but there's
Tommy DeVito, baby.
Yeah. Hey, you know what I can tell you? You know that Sunday sauce is going to taste extra.
Oh my God, it's going to be so
the
sweet.
Gravy. Yeah, you get it. You know. So no, I can't.
What?
Just
ridiculous. Oh God,
no detention. No one can be in detention. We're good.
You like a little meat in your gravy, Jeremy?
A little bit. Sure.
Just a little, the old brushel. Okay, predictions. Here we go. As Jeremy's face has gotten red, like he was just.
It's red like the sauce.
That was good. That was a good accent. Okay, we're all tied up. Because Jeremy was a coward last week. There's nothing else to say.
I thought I was being optimistic, but I always enjoy losing to you when it means the Knicks won more games than I thought.
And look, I did say, and I meant it. Like, picking 1 and 2 like crossed my mind. Thankfully, I didn't go 1 and 2. Thankfully, I didn't go 2 and 1. They went 3-0. So it was my pick again. Another 3-game week. So this is funny because this is like 2 straight 3-game weeks, and yet this portion of their schedule is hellacious because they play so many games in such a short period of time. So tonight, as you're listening to this, Monday, November 20th, they're at Minnesota, and then I'm sure they're going to take a very, very satisfying, rewarding flight back to New York. And then they will not play again until after their bellies have been filled with Thanksgiving turkey. They play Friday, November 24th against the Miami Heat. That is an ESPN game and isn't it a tournament game, in-season tournament game?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then Sunday versus Phoenix. That's a 6:00 start against the Suns. Should note that there will be no Tyler. In all likelihood, there'll be no Tyler Hero for the Miami game. He hasn't been playing in a while. He should be out for that, and no Bradley Beal for sure for the Phoenix game. I mean, there's two choices here. Yeah, I'll make you do it. I'll go 2-1. The hell, fuck it.
All right. Yeah, I kind of expected that. I get it. I'll go 1-2. Don't like it because I think that they actually could. I would imagine 2-1 is feasible. I just know that playing in Minnesota is going to be really tough. It's a great team. And I mean, Tommy, can they lose 1 of 2 against Miami, Phoenix? Again, like they could win tomorrow, right? Or win tonight if you're listening to this. But I will go 1-2 with that.
I actually had, as soon as I said it, I'm like, fuck, I should have picked 1-2 because then either way, I mean, unless they go 0-3. Mm-hmm. But if I had picked 1-2, you'd have picked 2-1. If they go 2-1, I'm happy. If they go 1-2, at least I get the win as like a silver lining. And I'm thinking it through, like, if they beat Minnesota in Minnesota, I'm feeling great because then I feel like I feel good that they could win one of the next 2. And this kind of maybe this brings it full circle to how we started talking about this team at the top of the show. Let's say they lose in Minnesota again, very eminently possible. Like that, Minnesota's been awesome. Like they're really good. It's possible that they could win those next 2 against the Heat and Suns. Like that's, I know you're not saying that anything otherwise because I picked 2-1, so you had to pick the more the reasonable choice. So yeah, let's see if they make me look smart. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll review. Yeah. I just want to say one more thing as well.
Yes.
I want to shout out our teammate, but especially my teammate on this, since he picked one of my games one week. Then he and I are tethered to the hip in Benji. I just want to say, Benji posted this on Twitter where Benji Zadie, his grandfather, passed away the other day, and Benji is someone who's Zadie passed away on Thanksgiving a couple of years ago. I know how hard it can be, buddy. And we all love you. We're rooting for you. We're thinking of you and your family. And well, I'm excited for us to confer on the next one, and we'll figure out how to beat Jon moving forward.
Yeah, I spoke to Benji earlier today. I will just say for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, go check out Benji's Twitter feed because he wrote really just one of the most beautiful things I've ever
very much
seen about another human being. So everybody should, take the time to read that because they should do that. Good use of your time. Okie dokie. Announcements. We have a few announcements. I will start and then pass it to you for the second announcement before we wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. KFS Watch Along Time. That is, again, tonight as you were listening to this, Knicks versus Wolves. It is the 2 of us, Jon and Jeremy, and DJ Zulo. So we got whatever we do and then someone to do the X's and O's, DJ. And he's great at that. I'm excited for that. I think I'd be shocked if it was not a close game because the Knicks seem to play nothing but close games. And again, the Wolves are good. So yeah, check that out on the YouTube channel. And also obviously shout out to all of our patrons who watch along on playback.
Also, the games against the Wolves have been close over the last couple of years. It feels like
they have.
Just
there've been some doozies.
Taurean Prince is not there to haunt the Knicks this time around, which is great. So someone else will do that instead.
What do you go 8 for 8? He started 8 for 8 or something?
I mean, it was insane. Must have been. I think it was like 30-something points. Crazy.
Yeah.
Yes. On to our next announcement. We have a very special one, which is that we have a new merch store. So you can go to our merch store. I'll demonstrate it here. It'll be it's Knicks Film School. So it's singular with Nick and then SKOOL, knickfilmschool.com. And there are all sorts of great options here. What we've got, I'm sure it will. Okay, so let's just doing the testing with the sharing. Let's go through it very quickly. Got some cool shirts here, sweatshirts as well, light and dark. We got different joggers. We have hats, different colors, hoodies. You can cycle through different colors that we've got here. Although for this one, of course, I picked the one where it's just one color. If you look at the hats, for example, there are different beanies. There's navy, there's dark gray, there's black. Same thing with all these different things. And we really tried to price this in a way that is affordable for everyone. There was a minimum amount. I'm being more transparent than I probably should be, but I want to be.
I'm appreciating that you do this. Yeah.
We really don't care as much in terms of the financial portion. We just are really appreciative in terms of how people interact with our brands. And if you are comfortable wearing our brand that represents you in such a way, we want to eliminate all barriers for that to happen. And unfortunately, we cannot do that where it's free because there is a minimum amount, but that's essentially where we're at. And we appreciate any contributions. And if you do decide to go through with buying it, send us a photo, tweet it out. We'll obviously repost it and share the love with you. So perfect thing for Black Friday and any consumerism that you need this holiday season.
I just want to say, like, Jeremy and the Lord above as my witness, my reaction when I first saw this stuff was like, holy shit, I want to wear this. And it's not just because I'm like, obviously part of Knicks Film School and the whole thing. The stuff looks really good. If I can go so far as to say, like, the iconic picture of Jennifer Aniston, like the Knicks sweatshirt from the Friends in the 90s, this stuff gives me those vibes. It's just take a look for yourself. If you hate it, you hate it, and obviously don't get it. But I'm really excited, and I think people are going to really love this stuff. And I'll just say again, so the website Nick, singular Nick Film School, SKOOL, or, and I just tried it to double check, if you Google Knicks Film School store, our old T Public store still comes up as the first thing. You can still get that stuff if you want to, but if you go right below that, there is the website. So all of the new merch, all of the new rebranded stuff, you could just Google again Knicks Film School store, and it's the second thing that comes up. But yeah. So check it out. We hope you love it, and we're excited to see people wearing it. That's it. Anything else?
And we got one more. Oh no, I guess we don't. No,
we have Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. There it is. Yeah. So
y'all will hear from me after the Wolves game. I am honestly not sure what the rest of the podcast schedule for the week is looking like. I'm sure we got something going on. But for anybody who may not hear from us again or may not tune in or whatever, safe, happy, healthy Thanksgiving, and we appreciate you. We are thankful for you guys letting us do what we do. Because obviously we wouldn't be able to do it without you. So thanks so much. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.